Good afternoon. Welcome to Steady Head, a new podcast on men's mental health. My name is Heath. I will be one of your co-hosts, and then
And I'm Tate. I will be the other co-host.
today we're doing kind of just a plain introduction on what we're going to be talking about in this podcast, and just giving you guys a forward glance of what we're going to be talking about, and just what we kind of hope to talk about.
Yeah. I know we have a couple things already planned out. I know our next episode, we're thinking about doing an episode about isolationism and how that affects men in our culture, kind of bringing it into the idea of men don't cry and how that's not exactly correct.
Which is something that for me personally, I was raised, my dad's side of the family was definitely very that way. So that's going to be a fun topic for me to talk about. And I hope you guys enjoyed that one. And then after that, we're going to probably go into how men's mental health kind of affects the workplace, and how it affects you when you get to work, and kind of your decision making at work and how that kind of plays in. That'll probably be the next week. We're hoping to release on Mondays. Once a week, Mondays. I'll try to have it out around that time.
But yeah, I think we'll also have a couple other topics such as fatherhood and how that should look as a man in the way of mental health once again. But also, I feel like for this episode, as well as just introducing the topic, I think this would be a good chance just to introduce ourselves and kind of give an idea of who we are.
Yeah. So, like I said, my name's Heath. I'm from a small town here in Illinois. We very much like a farm town. You work on the farm as a kid. You do what you got to do. You start work early. You don't really unlike city people, which not a diss on city people, but small town kids start work way earlier. I was unfortunate enough. Well, actually, I believe God gave me this experience. I was raised by a single mom, and so that gave me a different perspective on how men acted. Because I had very, very good figures in my church and where I lived, but I didn't have someone in the home with me all the time. So it's kind of how I grew up. But how about you, Tate?
Yeah, so my childhood was somewhat similar in the essence of I also was a farm kid from a very, very small town in Oregon, so very different area, but similar culture in my upbringing. But my family life was quite a bit different, I will say. I have both parents, very stable family, very blessed to have that. But yeah, so I did grow up with a father figure, who amazing guy. You'll never see me sit here and diss on my dad. He's a great guy.
His dad's pretty dope. I've never actually met the guy, but I've heard him on the phone, and he sounds like a dope dude.
Yeah, gamer parents.
Yeah,
honestly, amazing. Love that. But yeah, no, I'm just love my dad. Although I will say I am definitely a mama's boy. So
same here. But I didn't have a dad to really do most of that with until I was 12 when I got my stepdad. So it was also different because I had already gotten most of my preconceptions already of this is how I'm supposed to behave and act as the man at that point. Because even though I was 12, that's just kind of how I grew up. And so having a stepdad at 12 really didn't help because we do butt heads a lot about various things. But honestly, I'm working on myself to then also see things more the way he does, because there are a lot of things I'm doing wrong that I don't always want to see because I'm stubborn and don't want to listen.
Very stubborn, but I mean, honestly, so am I. Both my parents are kind of stubborn people, so that definitely rubbed off on me quite a bit. But yeah, no, I I completely lost what I was gonna say. Lost my flow. What were we talking about?
Oh my gosh. We're talking about.
We're gonna cut this part, right?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I might. 5.5 minutes. We were talking about how we were raised,
Oh yeah.
and like being stubborn
Mhm.
was definitely the big one.
Oh yeah. No, I was gonna say. Though I am a mama's boy, I will say my dad has taught me some very, very important lessons. I mean, every weekend was, where a lot of people would say, weekends the break where you just rest for a couple of days and don't do any work. Well, we're growing up on a farm. It's quite the opposite because that's when my dad would have his days off, so we could actually go and do our farm work. So, I was raised in a way that we would work hard until the work's done, and that's when you rest. Is when there's no work left to do.
Mhm.
And so it's a very much more hardworking environment. I will say I did not pick up that work ethic until COVID lockdown, so it's really hit my area pretty hard, surprisingly. So yeah, no, I did pick up a good work ethic from him. So that's something I'm very grateful for. But yeah.
It's kind of crazy, actually. His dad's an electrical engineer. You wouldn't be able to tell by looking at Tate that his dad's an electrical engineer, because Tate does not he is very much a let me go fight a fire, not let me go sit behind a desk and do electrical engineering.
I'd die.
He would die. I've seen him try to do schoolwork. It sucks.
It's bad.
Yeah. Let's say Tate, what do you do in the summers? We'll talk about that
Well,
a little bit.
as he kind of mentioned, I do firefighting, wildland firefighting. So yeah, no, it's fun. I will say, people when they think firefighters, they think going and fighting fires every day, getting up early, working late into the night. Especially in my area, there's a lot of downtime as a firefighter. There's a lot of keeping the station clean, just chatting with the older guys about their fire experience. It's a good time, but it can be boring some days because you're just sitting there, got nothing to do. But you're not supposed to just sit around doing nothing because you're getting paid to be there. So it's finding busy work a lot. But let me tell you, when we do fight fires, funnest job I've ever done. Absolutely love firefighting. Just it's going out, working hard. I don't have to think about what I'm doing because I'm told what to do and I go do it. It's that easy. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I like to swim. Really like swimming. We got a lot of good spots in Oregon for swimming. Yeah, and I'm just now getting into podcasting. I might do some streaming someday, but yeah, that's my hobbies and work.
So some of my hobbies, and work. I landscape. I mow lawns. Very basic, kind of a teenager job. Not really, because I do gas stations, not residential. I do more commercial stuff, so big stuff around big trucks. On the side, that's my more during the week work. On the weekends and nights, most times, I will be I'll be working. I'm not doing this for free. I cook at an assisted living that my mom actually works at. Shout out, Mom, as a nurse. Hashtag all the nurses. Like, nurses don't get enough credit. They're awesome. I love them all. They're great. Yeah. So I do that on the side. I love to work with my hands. I love to work on cars. Cars for me is something that I've always enjoyed. I'm very mechanical minded. So taking something apart and putting it back together is one of my specialties. Not always for the best, because I've taken things apart that I'm not supposed to and then can't put it back together because something broke. Bad idea. Don't do it. But other than that, I have dogs, 4 of them. I love them all. They're all a pain. But I love them all. I love playing with my dogs, laying with them. They are the best, heated, weighted blanket I've ever had. I don't need one. I have a dog.
I do gotta say, on taking things apart and putting them back together, that's actually something I really enjoy doing for the most part. My pickup makes me mad sometimes. Almost took out my thumb one day on the transmission. But
over spring break.
Oh yeah, over spring break, and it's been winter break.
Winter break. Never
and
mind.
it's been almost like what 3 months,
Yeah.
and it still hasn't fully healed.
Yeah. It was bad.
It was.
He
pretty
comes
bad.
back from winter break and he's like, I about lost my thumb. And I'm like, what?
I hit the nerve. Like it's still a little bit numb on the cut, but it's definitely a lot better now.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, that wasn't fun. But yeah, with like taking things apart and putting them back together. I know in high school, now if Preston ever watches this, he can back me up on this. My high school friend and I, we got so bored in one class that we just took a pen and like started timing each other on how fast we could take it apart and put it back together. I got 6 seconds on that thing,
Dang, that's actually pretty fast.
I think.
Um,
Or maybe it was 7. It was something in there. But it was like we were that bored in class. We just
yeah. I was gonna say something.
oh my bad.
No, you're fine. I was gonna say something and I lost it. Oh, do you ever take pens and like take multiple pens apart and try to see which pieces would fit in the same in a different pen, and then forget which piece went with which pen? So then you just mash them together and pray it worked.
See, I never had enough pens to do that. Not that I was broke or anything. I just
Didn't want to buy more pens.
exactly. I had one pen and I had a couple pencils, and I would use them as minimally as possible because I don't like writing things. I don't mind typing so much, but writing, yeah, it's not that fun.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So we're kind of rambling at the moment, but I don't know. What do you want to?
I mean, I guess basically what we're getting at here is, we're just a couple of guys. We're going to college right now. We're not getting any sort of like psychology degree or counseling. I mean,
We're
right
not
now,
professionals.
right now you're like what, going into youth ministry.
Yeah, I'm going into youth ministry. He might actually.
So I mean,
I'll let him
I'm
talk about it.
I'm currently in for like my major is currently theology, but I'm kind of looking at switching to communications with a focus on video. So like, we're not people who are going to study this field. We're not experts in this field. We're just a couple of normal guys, normal Christian guys who see mental health or men's mental health specifically as a problem that's glossed over, and we want to, kind of help cover it because there's not very many people out there who do.
Yeah, and actually, we had a guy at dinner right before this was like, "There's only like a handful of famous people who actually talk about men's mental health in like." Out of all the people in the world, there's only like a handful that actually like mention it directly and make it a topic. So like that's something we want to address, not as professionals. I'm gonna repeat what he said. We're not professionals. Don't diagnose yourself based on what we say. Now, we might bring something up and you're like, man, that sounds like something I'm going through. Please, please, please go see it like a licensed professional to get an actual opinion that is better like equipped than us. Because like he said, we're not going to study this. Like I'm in a class that kind of talks about it, but like that's twice a week for an hour and a half. I don't know that much. I've been through my mental health, but I don't know how to treat it. I don't know. I know how to like how my mental health works and what works for me. That's not going to work for everybody. So just if it's something we're like that like we've gone through collectively or like one or the other, and it like relates to you, don't feel ashamed to go to somebody and be like, hey, I watched these guys. Something they said reminded me of something I'm going through, but I want to I want to be diagnosed. Because honestly, the best thing you can do is get diagnosed. Get diagnosed with whatever you have, because then you can get help. Because we can sit here and talk about it all day long. That's not going to affect what you're going through, because I don't know your exact situation. So like Tate and I, like if I'm going through something, I talk to Tate, and vice versa. Like we talk to each other about it, so he knows what's going on in my with my mental health, because for me, I need an outlet to talk about it. And sometimes I don't, and he'll pick up on like my cues. Talk to a licensed professional and get diagnosed. it is probably the best thing I've ever done was getting counseling help. Also, men, don't be afraid to have a woman counselor. Like a woman therapist, my therapist and psychiatrist, they're both women. Probably top, like, my favorite people I've ever been around, like doctor-wise, because they listen. They don't care, like, their gender for them is not a thing. It is, this is what you're going through. This is how we can help. Let us help you. So, not to say that, like, if you can get a male counselor, sure, try it. If not, it's not the end of the world. It's not something you have to be super stressed about. So,
I gotta say, I chuckled a little bit when you said not to be afraid to go to a female counselor, because I think it was you that I was talking to, because like I'm going into like I'm having my first appointment tomorrow for counseling, and I had mentioned I'm like, I got a female one when I wanted a male one. And I was like, kind of I'm more comfortable opening up to a man, because I mean that's just kind of how we guys are, I would assume, for the most part. Once again, we only have our own experience to go off of here. But yeah, no. So I find it funny because it's almost like I got called out a little bit there,
not my point, but
But
I'm
your
glad
point.
you felt that.
Yeah. But I do also want to clarify, we are going to be talking almost exclusively about men's mental health. That's not to say we view it as men's mental health is more important or anything. It's just
not.
it's
Like,
just an issue that's talked about less.
Mhm.
Because we have, there's the societal stigma almost that like, women have a lot of support to fall back on.
which is not a diss on women.
It is not. It is not. In
We
fact,
have-
that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. We just wish and want to bring it to the light that men don't have nearly as much. So we'd like to talk about it.
Because
Not to diss on anybody, not to make anybody, like, to offend anybody. We're just simply trying to bring something to the light that isn't talked about nearly as much. Continue.
I gotta say, because like you have, the influential people in the world, like so the women who are influential to women, like their response to emotional mental stress is, talk about it, open up about it. Whereas, the role models we as men have in the world are almost all this no emotion. You don't show the emotion, so you just bottle it up and you just, you don't deal with it. So
I mean, look at the Rocky movies.
yeah, look at the Rocky movies. I
Like,
mean, look at
Growing up watching Rocky, you have an Italian dude who's mad, who then falls in love, but loves boxing.
yes.
He's mad because it's boxing or the girl. He ends up getting both. It doesn't work like that. Don't assume. But if it did, it'd be great. But you have the stigma of he's mad, so he beats the crap out of people, and he boxes, and which is dope. Except then growing up, you're like, man, I should go into boxing so I can beat the crap out of people.
Yeah.
Or you watch like movies with soldiers, and you're like, man, I could be a soldier. They don't show emotion. Like, that's a great role model, but it's not, because a lot of the times the fight that soldiers especially have that no one sees is honestly more jaw-dropping than what they do physically experience.
I do got to say, this is something that I actually not per se have a huge passion for, but like I have, put a somewhat decent sized amount of research into it, and I know, because I know quite a few people in the military. One of the, if not the most, I don't, like, once again, I'm not an expert. I could be a little bit wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure in my research I've found the highest suicide rate of like any career is men in the Army. And that's probably followed pretty closely by the other branches. But just that the Army in itself is that high, like that shows, these soldiers do have like a major battle going on mentally that just doesn't get talked about at all. Like, there's definitely that fight that these role models fight that we're just like, we push it aside because that's not the narrative. And so, yeah, the idea that just about every single role model that guys have is this tough guy who doesn't really open up, but instead just kind of like just pushes like people around or just fights or whatever. Like, yeah, there are things about that, like Rocky, perseverance. That's a huge like theme in the movies, and that's a great thing to pick up on. With soldiers. There's self-sacrifice it's an important like role model, but the fact that we only have those things, but we don't have anything about like managing mental health is kind of a very big problem. It's part of what leads a lot of men to never open up, and then eventually,
Yeah.
yeah.
According to the va.gov, news.va.gov, talking about mental health and veterans' suicide rates. In 2023, I'm quoting this, so if you want to look it up, I'm giving whoever wrote this article the credit. I'm not getting copyright or anything. It was written by, doesn't show. But it says that, let me find it again. In 2023, 6,398 veterans died by suicide, which is 44 deaths fewer than 2022. But still, that's a lot of people.
It's a lot for just like
6,000 people is a lot of people who mentally, after coming back from something, like, are just like, they may seem like they're okay on the outside, but the inside's not right. Like, having family members, like, who were in the military, especially my uncle, like, he doesn't really, I won't share too much because he doesn't like talking about it, but he doesn't really sleep. And so, like, I stayed at his house a couple of times, and he paces. Like, at night, he'll pace, like, around the house, and you'll hear him, just because he can't sleep, because, like, that's just a hard thing to do.
And I know there's a veteran I know. Once again, I'm going to be very vague about, I don't want to disclose anybody's personal information.
Yeah.
But I know a guy who I have talked to a decent amount. And, like, he has said that, like, he's terrified to even, like, show his back to a door. I mean, he's gone through multiple deployments in the Middle East. So he's gone through a lot. And, he like, the fact that he doesn't even, like, he can't even expose his back to a doorway because, like, he's got that much trauma. And it just, he just kind of glossed over it because that's what you do as a man.
But all this to say, we're not just excluding soldiers either, and we're not excluding women. Like, it is a high rate for both, and it's something we want to bring light to regardless of age, race, gender. But we don't want to, like, I do want to focus, and I'm sure Tate agrees, we want to focus on men's mental health especially. We also want to talk about, later on, we want to talk about how, like, like, all the things going on with gender right now, like, how that also affects a man's mental health, and, like, how it just affects men in general. We also are going to talk about biblical ways in which, like, how our mental health, like, biblically, what that looks like. Just like a brief thing on that. Like, if you look at David, like, if you look through the Psalms, throughout the Psalms, yes, I know David didn't write all the Psalms. Yeah. But throughout the Psalms, you do have a theme of David crying out to God, or the psalmist crying out to God, God, my enemies surround me. They're trying to kill me. Why? And just that struggle through their, like, through, like, just mentally questioning God, but at the same time also just mentally not, like, mentally struggling. And that's something that, like, I feel like it doesn't get glanced over in churches, but it kind of does. Like, we talk about, like, Psalm 118, or, like, some of the more joyful psalms. And I feel like sometimes the psalms of lament are just as powerful as the ones that talk about, like, how God is, like, our shepherd and he leads us. Like, those are amazing passages. But I feel like also the ones about lament and about how, like, our struggles are also just as important.
I feel like another topic we could go over in that same vein is also like when somebody is struggling like that. You know, we as Christians are called to help carry their burden.
Mm-hmm.
So we could also talk about what does that actually look like.
Mm-hmm.
So
Also, on the topic of weeping, on crying, the most manly man in the Bible, it's the shortest verse in the Bible. Jesus wept.
John 11:35.
Yep. If men aren't supposed to cry, why did the perfect Son of God cry? Like, I've done some research and I've read some articles, and they're like, oh, he was trying to make, like, Mary and her sister, Mary and Martha? No.
Yes,
Yes.
Martha.
Like, he was trying to, like, empathize with them. And I do believe partially, yes, that is the case. But also there is sadness. And crying is a normal, like, God created crying for a reason. Now, it also could be an impact of the fall. But I don't know. I don't know that. So, and God has a purpose for it. So, yeah. That's my little spiel. Come back for the topic. Come back next week, actually,
Yes.
when we talk about that. We're not done yet, but
Yeah. Anyway.
so now that we've kind of gone a brief overview, we're trying. I mean, we've got a slogan, kind of. We're working on it. This is something that, like, I'm very passionate about, and I'm really excited to do, as you can tell. Tate also, I feel like, is excited to talk about it.
Yes,
He just loves podcasts.
I do.
He's kinda
That's-
crazy.
I'm a sucker for podcasts.
He's crazy.
Listening to them, being on them.
Mhm.
I just love making stuff and,
Yeah.
and listening to it.
So, yeah. Is there anything else
Well,
you want to?
I mean, we could kind of go over our experiences with mental health. You know, we went over
Yeah.
where we come from, but
Do you want to start with that, or do you want me to?
I guess I could open up a little bit. I mean,
I can go first if that helps you.
no, I mean I can go first.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. I mean, I kind of definitely had, as I said, a very stable family, which does come with some benefits as far as mental health goes. So I did have a pretty good childhood. But I will say when I actually don't know how old I was when it started, but I mean I started to definitely feel that loneliness that a lot of men these days feel. And it did send me into a minor depression. I don't think it would even be considered a clinical depression, but I mean it was a struggle that I never did open up about. And it did, lead to some rougher times in high school, especially. I did end up though getting a friend. Once again, I don't know that I'll disclose his name yet because I don't know if he wants me to. But I did get a friend, my best friend now, that I was able to open up with him, and that was one of my better experiences in life, was just finally getting somebody I can talk to about these experiences, and that was definitely a big help. So yeah, I kind of had wouldn't say easy, but easier life than some. But yeah, no, recently I had a point where, turns out, on the topic of bearing others' burdens, turns out I bear them a little too hard sometimes. And I burnt myself out like crazy. And so I've been trying to pick up from where I was, and I'd say I'm doing a decent job at picking myself back
He's
up.
doing great.
But yeah, no. So I mean, I've gone through some stuff. Not as much as some people, but I've gone through some stuff, so I have some of that experience there. I know Heath's probably got a much crazier story for you guys.
Yeah. So, kind of on the topic of like, so my mental health definitely started when I was younger. That I just didn't ever diagnose or like know what it was. Like around the time when my dad left, I definitely like I started to struggle a little bit, and I just kind of buried it. And I was like, oh, I don't know what this feeling is, but I'm just gonna ignore it because I don't have time for that. And like, never really thought about it. Always wanted to go into the Marine Corps for some odd reason. Don't know why. Thought they were cool. Um, then I really started to notice my mental health dip. During like middle school and high school. I was homeschooled for a while, like most of my schooling career, at least like before college. But then I was in high school and middle school for a year in public school, and I noticed I didn't have a lot of friends, and the friend I did have ended up being homeschooled throughout high school, so I didn't see him at school. So I didn't really have many friends, and I kind of fell in the wrong crowd of like I was doing the wrong things. I was hanging out with the wrong people, and just I was not being strong in my faith. I dated a girl I definitely shouldn't have dated. Did things I definitely didn't want to do. But when you're not thinking about it, and you're just living life trying to cover something up, you do things you don't want. And for me, that was, then of course the Lord. I was very depressed during that time, but then the Lord somehow, through I guess the Lord showed my mother that I was struggling and helped like get me help. And turns out like during that time I was very much a hypocrite in my faith. I was on the leadership team in my youth group, but wasn't living it. I was acting like a good Christian and not being a good Christian and not living for Christ. I was very much living for myself, which then also, because then I was taken off the leadership team, rightfully so. I'm glad I was taken off. But it just put me in like I spiraled even worse after that. To the point where like I tried to kill myself multiple times. That was something I definitely struggled with. My depression was bad. But I got help. I started talking to my youth pastor about it. I went to counseling for almost a year. That counseling definitely helped me. I got back in like my Bible, which is great. I was homeschooled after that because I could not make good friends to save my life, evidently. But yeah, and then graduated, worked full time, just kind of hung around like my Christian friends. Yeah, and then came to Moody. I've had a few depressive spells around relationships. Like if a relationship ends, especially a dating relationship, I tend to drop a little bit into my depression again, and it comes in waves. But it's just something that like I've learned to kind of adapt and overcome, and try to fight through. I've just learned I can't do it alone, and we're not called to do it alone. And yeah, that's kind of my crazy story.
Yeah.
Now there's some guys on our floor who have crazier stories, and I'd love to get them on the podcast sometime to talk about them.
There's one I'm thinking of right now that would be great.
Me too,
for
actually.
Even the topic of suicide awareness.
I am thinking of the same one.
Probably, yeah.
But yeah, no, I'd love to get some of the guys on here. Yeah, so that's my story. Yeah, and honestly, like, watch what you listen to. Watch what music you're listening to, and watch where your mental health goes. Turns out, when people say what goes in your ear stays and rattles around in your head and changes your mood, they were right every time. Because for me, I was listening to all the wrong music, and I was listening to very very depressive styles of music, and I realized, man, when I listen to these, I genuinely get more depressed because it's not helping me. So sometimes, watch what you listen to, watch what you're hearing, watch what you're pay attention to what you're watching, like what you see on TV.
I do gotta say, on the topic of what you're watching, I know social media can be a really big problem for, especially those who are going through a very depressive state, because social media is literally designed to feed you what you are subconsciously looking to see. So if you are at a point where you're going through a really rough time, and then you open up social media, chances are they're going to show you a bunch of things that just keep spiraling you. So I mean, if you're at a point where you are highly depressed, sometimes a really good way to help with that would be to stay off of social media for, you know, the next indefinite amount of time, just until, you know, you're in a much better headspace.
You know, they also, social media is great to spoil TV shows. Like,
Yes,
there's one episode of a show we're actually going to watch at some point soon, I hope.
hopefully.
But my feed on Instagram has been mostly like clips of the episode I haven't seen yet, and I'm really mad about it. Hence why I haven't really been opening Instagram, because I don't want to get spoiled. But yeah, no, just like you said, Instagram, not that great. Facebook, not that great. I mean, like Snapchat, not great. Delete your messages. Why? Why do you need to, like, if you have, like, that's the other thing. If you're hiding something, the Bible says that what is I don't know the exact reference, so I'm not gonna try to quote it. But it's pretty much saying that, like, what's being hidden, the Lord still will see, and the truth will come out eventually. So it's much better to come out with it right away and get help, rather than something happening and and someone finding out, and then you're much in a worse place. I was talking to a friend back home, actually, earlier last semester. I won't disclose him, but he was struggling with something with his that he wasn't telling his parents about. He'd call me about it. We'd talk about it. Well, ultimately, he needed to talk to his parents and tell his mom, and he finally did. And turns out, yeah, there was consequences for his actions, but they were much lighter than if she would have found out later, because finding out is much worse than being told, especially when it comes from a place of, I messed up, I'm sorry, and I'm telling you to make it right. Not, I'm telling you because I feel like I'm going to get in less trouble.
I gotta say, an apology after you're caught is much less powerful than an apology before you're caught.
Mm-hmm. Also, the whole saying of, what's the saying about saying sorry after you've done something versus asking for permission versus...
Yeah, it's easier to apologize than to ask for permission or whatever.
Something like that. It's total BS. It's not true. It's easier to just ask for permission, and then if they say no, it's a no. Especially, like, I'm talking to, like, the younger guys who might be watching this, who are listening, like, who do, like, answer your parents. Like, your parents know what's best, regardless of what you may think or how strict they may be. They know what's best for you, and they're gonna try to, like, help you figure that out. Like,
and it doesn't necessarily only apply to the younger guys either.
No.
Like, dude, I'm 20 and I still I definitely heed my parents' words very much, because I know that they've got many years on me, much wisdom on me. Like,
you're still young.
I'm still young. My brain ain't even fully developed yet.
Yeah. I mean, even for the older guys, like, yeah, I'm 18, he's 20. Like, I am not in any way telling you guys what to do. Like, I'm not saying you need to do this. Like, this is for you to pray about, and for you to, we are, like we said, we are Christians. We want to do what's right biblically, and we want to be in God's will. Like, another thing is, like, along with following is your pastors. Your pastors are the shepherd of the flock. They are there. They are appointed by God to help you in your faith. Like, yeah, there takes some effort on you to, like, yeah, like, they're not going to do it for you. You can be like, oh, my pastor didn't, like, do this, so I get a free skate. Like, there is effort, because the Christian faith is not easy, but your pastors are there for you. Like,
yeah, I feel like, I mean, I know some people who will be like, oh, I have this problem I'm struggling with, but I don't want to talk to the pastor because, like, well, then he'll think less of me. But the thing is, that's almost like saying, you know, I have this mental health issue, but I'm not going to tell my counselor because then they'll think less of me. It's like, that's the pastor's job. Like, yes, they preach sermons on Sunday or whatever day your church service is. But, like, that's that's just the teaching aspect. There's a whole other aspect of their job, which is like the religious counseling side.
Yeah, like I've
Like,
talked to some of the pastoral majors here, and half of their major is in pastoral care. I have a friend who's a pastoral major, but he's actually has a minor in ministry to women because that's an aspect of his job that he's been called to that he needs to learn. And that's part of their job as pastors is to shepherd the flock wisely. And they want to be there, but they can't be there if you don't tell them. Like that's the biggest thing. They can't be there if they don't know what's going on. So, yeah, tell your parents if you're of that age. But if not, like, go to your pastor. Go to those above you. There's always going to be someone above you, like, regardless of where you stand. There's someone above you. And it's, like, go to them. Talk to them. Talk to your friends. Your friends aren't probably going to be able to fix it, but they can hear you out. They can talk to you about it.
and friends, don't try to take on too much.
Yes, don't try to fix all their problems.
Don't try to be counselor, pastor, and friend at once. Trust me, it's not something you can do. You can't fulfill all roles. So I mean, if you have a friend that's struggling, don't take it upon yourself to fix them. You can't by yourself. But what you can do is be there for them, listen to them, and also you can direct them to people who can help them.
And that's definitely something that like does get like people are like, "Oh, I'll help my friend, but then I won't." Like, but I try to take on too much, and then you're in the same place they are. Because
Almost happened to me.
No, it did happen to you. Don't even. No, like then you're in the same place because you are taking on so much that you can't do it. And that's something that like, especially as like someone who's very much extroverted like myself, is hard. I try to fix everyone's problems all at the same time. And then I get burnt out. And then I'm like, why am I depressed? And I have to look back and I'm like, I tried to fix 5 problems at the same time and not my own. It's like the verse says, it's not in the same context. I'm not like, technically it's talking about sin in this context, but like pulling out the speck in your brother's eye when you have a log in your own. It's the same concept of like, you're trying to fix a little tiny thing that your friend is struggling with when you probably have a lot of stuff that you're also struggling with.
I mean, it's like the, put on your oxygen mask before you put on your friends. You can't help them if you yourself are going down. You gotta put yourself at a spot where you've become stable, so you can then help stabilize your friend.
Yeah, that's something that I feel like we also in America we like, not America, but in like the church especially, we tend to like, let me help this person, but then we ignore what's going on inside to the point of then we're in the same boat they are, and then we're like both screwed. Like we're both cooked.
And then now we got 2 people who need help rather
And then
than
someone has to come get all 3 of us
yes.
and try to pull 2 people out, and then half the time they get stuck. And then it's just and then the person who started who was stuck originally feels even worse because they brought 2 of their friends down with them.
Which I want to clarify. It doesn't mean it's that person's fault.
It's not your fault. Like that's not what I was trying to say. But
Yeah.
like it's not your fault because they also have a responsibility.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's what we've got for this episode for the
Okay.
most part.
Is that time then?
I'm at 44 minutes.
I mean, we could keep going for a bit if we got anything left to talk about. Huh?
Not really.
I guess we could end it if we want to do a little outro.
Yeah. So yeah, if you are struggling with your mental health or struggling with something, please see somebody. Please talk to somebody who's a licensed professional. I know there are hotlines for this. I don't know them off the top of my head. But please seek help. Not because you're broken, not because you're hurting. Well, because you're hurting. Not because you're broken, but because that's what people get paid to do. And
Mm-hmm.
it's better for you to seek help now. So, Tate, do you want to pray us out?
Well, actually, I do have one
Oh,
more thing I want
okay.
to say before we and I just want to say, to the men in the audience, as that's who we're mostly going to be speaking to. I just want to say, what we've been trying to say this whole time. Basically, you have struggles, and those struggles are really difficult. So don't push those down. Don't think it's a you're being a burden on others by, telling them about your problems. Go and seek that help. Like Heath said, go seek that help. Let it out. If you need to cry, cry. You have people who care about you, and you have resources that you can go to.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make the mistake of thinking nobody cares, nobody wants to help you, or it's not manly to get help. The best thing you can do, the most manly thing you can do at that point, is to help fix yourself. So, yeah.
Yeah, especially because if you seek help and you can you can get help for yourself, then the next person who comes down the line, you're like, hey, this worked for me. Let's do it together. Like, yeah, that's big.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I can pray us out. Do we want to plug our other podcasts after this, or
we can?
We could. Anyway, I'll pray us out.
Okay.
Lord, I come to you as we end out this podcast. I just pray that those listening who may be struggling, or maybe those listening who know somebody who is struggling, would be able to gain what they need from this. That if they're struggling, they'd be able to make that connection that maybe they do need to go reach out for help. Or if they know somebody who is struggling, that they'd be able to learn how they can help that person. Lord, I thank you for this opportunity to spread awareness to this rising issue in not just our nation, but this world. And I just pray that you would help us to continue to spread this awareness, and that you'd help future episodes to be not only educational and important, but also focused on you in the end. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. And I hope you come back, please.
Do we want...
What?
I mean, if you guys want to see more of us in a less serious light, more joking around with friends, we have another podcast called Off Topic Podcast, where we have 2 other members, and we just kind of goof around, have a fun time.
Mm-hmm. That one is released on Thursdays, and there should be an episode up, but there should be another one coming the next Thursday.
Yeah.
So, thank you guys for watching, and
we'll see you again next Monday.
Yeah.